If you guys don't know who our two hosts are today, who are sharing their wisdom with us, we have Nicole and we have Tish. Nicole actually, she came to our very first EYO Houston meeting. I think that was back in June or July. And at that point in time, she was just saying, I want to start an Airbnb. And that was just this year. And she has executed on that. So she is very fresh in this. And I know that she was saying she's had very fresh. I know she was saying that she's had some learning opportunities in this. And so I'm really excited to see how that has gone and what she's had going on. Tish, on the other hand, is an OG. Tish has, right. Tish has been in Airbnb for a long time. So it's going to be really nice for us to get the wisdom of both of them. Someone who is fresh, who executed on the vision. Because I know for myself, I've thought of, I could just Airbnb this place out, but haven't walked toward it. But then also to get those pointers from someone who's been doing it for a while. So like I said, I'm going to mute myself, ladies. I am taking notes. If you guys need me, just holler.
All right. Thank you for the intro.
All right,
Nicole.
Hi, guys. Earners. My name is Nicole Donaldson. Pre-COVID, I provide educational support to school districts and private tutoring to parents and students. My specialty is standardized testing, SAT, ACT, GRE, GMAT. But of course, with COVID coming, I had to pivot. No schools were opening. Nobody was taking the SATs and PSATs. So I was like, okay. I became a earner in February. And I was like, I kept watching videos, everybody's saying, let's do Toro, Airbnb, let's start this, let's start that, real estate. And I was like, I need to find something that not passive, but I don't have to be on it every day, all day. And in my mind, I thought it had a very low entry point when it came to capital and investment. So I watched a lot of videos on EYL about retail arbitrage, and I felt like that was my way of getting my foot kind of wet in the Airbnb without having to commit to purchasing the property. And then I said, worst case scenario, if it doesn't work out, I buy myself out the lease, a lesson learned, and now I can just walk away and kind of, lick my wounds and be okay with my experience. But I also had the opportunity to talk to Tish. In our EYL Houston, I had an opportunity to, everybody was introducing themselves, what they do, and I reached out to her. I feel like what I love about our community when it comes to EYL Houston is that we're not afraid to give out the information. We're not afraid to help each other out, and really give out the meat of the information, not just saying, oh, well, just go look at this, or you might want to try this, like really offer you leads with no expectations of anything in return, just want to give value. So that's me. So here I am.
All right. Thanks, Nicole. So I'm Tish. My real name's Tisha, but everybody can call me Tish. So I've been, I guess my career prior to real estate, and really still now, got my degree in chemical engineering. So I've been working in the plants here on the Gulf Coast, all the way here to over close to Louisiana. And so I still do that full time. I'm kind of at the management level. So right now my job, it's great because it affords me a lot of downtime, or I guess not downtime. I'm very efficient at what I do at my job. So I can, do my side hustle outside of that time. So because of that, I've really taken a liking to real estate. Some because of my own mother. She was into it when I grew up, and I kind of saw, you could sit back and get residual checks, and so I really wanted to, yay, another Kimmy.
Yeah, I see it.
I really wanted to, do something in real estate. I really wasn't sure what. And so my path has really led me to a plethora of things in real estate, from regular rentals to long-term rentals to the short-term rentals like the Airbnbs and furnished finders, and also buying houses, flipping houses, things like that. So lately though, and I'd say it started mid this year. I started because I've been doing Airbnb for a while, so I know all the tips and tricks. And so a lot of people are getting into Airbnb, but they are it's almost like they burn themselves out because they don't really understand everything that it takes. So I've taken kind of a step to be a coach and a co-host to Airbnb owners, to really just help them with the nuts and bolts and getting things done. So like a lot of my recent work has been in co-hosting, and so we'll go over Airbnb during this discussion, and we'll touch a little bit on co-hosting, but that's really a whole other spectrum. But that's some of what brought me and Nicole together, because she was interested in just learning about Airbnb and possibly co-hosting. And then another thing I do, I help people actually find their Airbnbs in the Houston area. So I have a couple of services that I offer under my business, Sophia LLC. And but today's discussion, of course, we're going to be talking about Airbnb. So that's about all as far as my intro.
Okay, so I'm the novice, of course, right? So I was like, yeah, Airbnb, yeah, you just get you a place, you just put it on Airbnb, you just charge some people some money, and then, that's it. Easy, right? No. So I was looking at the locations, and I think for me, my issue was trying to find a location that was Airbnb friendly, right? So in my mind, I'm a licensed real estate agent as well. So in my mind, I'm thinking it can't possibly be an issue to find a location in Houston and surrounding areas who would not trust me, a licensed person, LLC, to with their property, and the trust that I will care for their property and pay their rent on time. But that wasn't the case. So it took me almost 3.5 months, and I was still frustrated. And frustrated because I didn't want to do what a lot of other people were doing, like just go rent you something and hope and pray that the leasing office don't find out that you're Airbnb. I didn't want to do that. So I wanted to be honest. I wanted to be professional in doing it. And the answers were no. So it was no, ma'am. We don't want Airbnb. We don't want short-term rentals. We don't want strangers in our community. It could be anybody, and that's their mentality. So it was a little disheartening. But when I finally did find a location that I felt like, I talked to the leasing person and I explained to her what I was doing. And I didn't go into great detail, but I did say I was doing short-term leasing. I did say that, I was working with traveling nurses and professionals. And the leasing agent said, okay. I asked if they could do corporate leasing, and she kind of gave me the corporate leasing number, but she was like, it's so expensive, don't worry about it. So in my mind, I'm not worried about it. I should have worried about it. So I had a guest there, and the guest, I suppose, was in one of the common areas, and the maintenance person was there, and the maintenance person was working on a unit that was next to mine. And I don't know what the conversation was, but I got a violation. I got a lease violation stating that I was making money off whatever the terminology is in the lease. And so I went to talk to the leasing agent, and she was not there no more. She had went to another person's property, and I was just like, oh my God. So I just learned in that moment to make sure that your lease specifically allows for you to do short-term rentals. Subletting, sometimes they will consider to be that. But that was my first hard Airbnb life learning. And so I had to let that property go.
Yeah. So Nicole is explaining the rental arbitrage process. And so that's definitely one way you can Airbnb. And like she's saying, the property has to be okay. The owner, and it could be a private owner, it could be an apartment complex, it can be, you know, a condominium, but the owner has to allow subletting, and that's the key word you want to look for in the lease is subletting. And so when me and Nicole talked, you know, I told her you really have to present yourself as a problem solver, right? When you talk to these corporations, let's say you go into a leasing office and you want to, of course, you want an Airbnb, but you can't go in there like, what's in it for me? You have to go in there like, what's in it for them? So do your homework, understand what they have available, understand their vacancies, see if you can get a copy of, you know, like a blank lease, which a lot of people, they'll give you it from the leasing office, and you want to look for those keywords to say like it's allowed to sublease. Before you even decide to go talk to the leasing office, you want to kind of do your homework. And then when you get in that leasing office, like I said, you want to come like, I have a solution for you. I see that there's 30% of your units that are vacant. My corporation wants to come in and give you a check, a consistent check every single month. You won't miss a beat, but we want to rent, and don't say just one, say we want to rent 3 or 4. And you know, if they start to bite at least on that, then once you kind of get some agreement, if you really just want to rent one, you can scale back and say, well, let's start with one, and I want to see how to work with you. You can scale it back, but really kind of going for the gusto and showing them that, hey, I'm a corporation. I'm trying to, you know, make you some money and make sure you don't have any vacancies. That's kind of the best way to present yourself, but only after you've done your homework. And so some of the things I've done, just like Nicole, you know, I've been out there talking to leasing offices. I know areas and locations that allow it. I've made contacts with landlords that are open to it and they own multiple properties. So like Nicole, she came to me and I was like, hey, I know this landlord, call her, she got one, you know. So just making your connections in the industry too helps you. Because like I said, if there's a vacancy, and a lot of you guys know who have rental property, you want that booked, you know, even if it's long-term or short-term, you want that booked 100% if possible. So you have to be willing to find and talk and do your homework and find those people who are, you know, really ready to rent. And some of the other ways I told Nicole that you can actually find properties. A lot of people don't use it anymore, but Craigslist. If you go to Craigslist and look, you could put in the keyword sublet, because that lets you know, hey, I'm open to subletting, whoever's posting this. And so that's a key pointer that, hey, I can Airbnb this because they're open to subletting. So you can go to Craigslist, look up, you know, who's open to subletting. You can also look under, you know, all of your normal rental websites, and you can see how long they've been posted. So that gives you an idea of maybe this owner is a little desperate to find someone. So if you come to them and say, hey, you know, I have a corporation, we rent things out to traveling professionals, they may be willing to rent to you as well. So like Nicole said, you want to do it and you want to be transparent because you don't want to get in no trouble, or you don't want the guests to get some kind of people knocking on their door saying you're not supposed to be here, because that's going to ruin your, you know, the second part that we're going to get to is keeping your Airbnb business beneficial to you. So that's really just to start. But you can also own your own property. My first Airbnb, I own that property. And so of course that's another whole way, like Nicole was saying, with if you had the capital to put down to actually buy property, then get that property. One good thing you want to make sure of is it doesn't have no HOA, because usually they don't like Airbnb either. And so you own that property and you can Airbnb that out as well. So hopefully that covers it. Someone asked a question about property management. You want to elaborate on that? Was that it?
I did, Tish. You had said that we need to contact the owners, but some of these apartments, they're pretty large. So is it okay if we just contact the property management of that apartment building, or does it have to be the actual owner of it?
Yeah, usually for apartments, it's the property manager or a leasing office,
Yeah.
and that's where you want to go and set up your appointments to discuss. But generally, that's after you kind of done your homework. You can email them beforehand and say, hey, I'm really interested in this. Can you share a copy of your lease so I can review? And that's the type of pre-work that I would suggest doing when you're visiting a leasing office.
Thank you.
And real quick, I just thought of this, but another thing I was telling Nicole that you can do if you're just desperate, you want to find a place, you can go to Airbnb, like you're going to search for an Airbnb to book. And if you zoom down in on the area and then compare that to Google Maps, then you can see where people have Airbnb rentals. And so go to that leasing office. You can say, hey, I see you got 20%. You also allow Airbnb based on what I found. You don't have to say that, but it gives you some confidence when you walk in there because you already know they have Airbnb there. And if they don't, you can kind of say, well, something's going on. You probably need to look into, but you don't want to tell on nobody either. So. So that kind of gives you an idea of some things you can do if you don't want to put in capital, like Nicole was saying, you want to lease. And so that kind of leads us to like the next phase, which is, okay, you found a property to Airbnb. So what do you do now? So Nicole, you want to go over like startup costs and things like that?
So like I said, I thought in my mind that this entry point is a low cost entry point, right? But when I started saying, okay, trying to compare, okay, this is my rent, and based on Airbnb says that the average days of the month that an average Airbnb person occupancy is about 22 days out of the month. So I said, okay. So then I took that and I divided that up into my rent, and then I don't know why, but I did not include my insurance. I did not include my electricity. I knew it. It's just that when I was doing the numbers, I just took the most obvious cost to it, but then you don't go into like your usables, like your linen and your cleaning and stuff like that. So once again, I've learned. And I'm just one of those people that I do like my initial numbers, and then I just jump into it, and then I'd be like, oh hell. Okay, so I need to make some adjustments. But then it came to, so I knew about the furniture because it has to be furnished, right? If you are, so I said, okay, what if I'm looking at a 1-bedroom opposed to a 2-bedroom? And what if I'm looking at, if it's only 22 days occupancy out of the month, I then add up all the costs, which I should have done initially, all the costs of operating it from, not the furnishing part, because I think to me, you have your short-term expenses or you have your, the daily expenses, but then, sometimes on the furniture, it can be an asset that you can use for a period of time opposed to just that one monthly reoccurring bill. So I took the utilities, the insurance, the renter's insurance, and all of those, and I divided up and I said, okay, this is how much money I need to get in after the fees from Airbnb, which once again, don't know why in my mind I did not include that. How much do I need to charge a night to make sure that in those 22 days that I can cover everything? And then if I book more than the average Airbnb, then that's profit, right? In my mind, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did it, and don't get me wrong, the first month that I was there, after all of my bills, even the ones I did not calculate at first, my net profit was right around like $825. So I said, okay, I'm good. I can make some better decisions, but I'm good. And so I said, okay, now that I kind of maybe got a system in place, kind of knew what I did not include, what I need to include from the future. Now, how can I get myself to stand out? Is it better for me to do a 1-bedroom opposed to a 2-bedroom? Is the cost of operations similar, or is it more cost efficient to do another 1-bedroom opposed to a 2-bedroom? And when I kind of did my numbers, it was not that much difference other than the additional bedroom furniture to do a 2-bedroom. So I think in the future, that's what I will be doing opposed to the 1-bedroom. What about you?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. There's pros and cons for sure to 1 versus 2. You know, and at the current moment, I have about nine listings, and there are, let's see, I think there's only 2 that are 1-bedrooms, and so I don't see much difference though in the occupancy, because you got people who are just, you know, a man and his lady traveling, they want the 1 king size, something like that. But then you have the people who, when they're a group, they're looking for a discount, not going to a hotel, so they're looking for the Airbnb rate. So I think either way, and it comes back to how you market it for sure. You touched on a good point there. And so some of the things I want to go back and touch on what you were saying as far as, you know, your startup costs. So if anyone's looking to do this, you know, she just gave you all that you need. You know, you want to set up that spreadsheet from the jump and say, hey, this is my occupancy rate. You want to do your homework to know what you can price it at that's going to be competitive in that area. Her 22 days per month is a very good standard to start with, you know, for your occupancy rate. And then when you price it times the occupancy rate, your price per night times the occupancy rate. And then you have to take out 3%, which is Airbnb's fee of what you'll take in. And so once you take all that out, then you want to do what she said, take out utilities. If you have any streaming services for, you know, your entertainment, any kind of ongoing variable costs like that, you definitely need to take out, you know, of that equation, so you can see how much you're going to be bringing in. But I will say, all of the units that I'm doing, if I were to give an average like price per door profit, I would say it's anywhere from 600 to 1,000 per month, which is great compared to like your long-term rentals. And so that's another thing. If you guys are looking to do rentals of any type, the short-term rentals, they do have higher profit margin because it is short-term. People pay, you know, a nightly rate versus a monthly rate. And so you are going to have better price per door, but of course there's a lot more work to it, right? You have to coordinate cleaners every turn. You have to make sure, you know, you have to stay up on the renters who, you know, you never know who you're going to get. So, you know, if they tear something up, you got to be prepared to replace it quickly or cancel your next booking so that you can stay on it. And so that's some of the reason why you can get more price per door, because you have to deal with a lot more, right? And so, like I said, it's 600 to 1,000 per door. You do that every month and you scale up, you could be making some good money. $100,000 is nothing in the Airbnb business when you really focus in on scaling up. And part of one of the services I offer of co-hosting, and I talk to people when when I present co-hosting, I say, if you don't want to deal with the day-to-day, the cleaning coordination, the repairs, coordination, hire a co-host and you focus on scaling up. You get 10 properties and you pay a co-host, 5 to 10% of how much you bring in. But if you're bringing in 600 to 1,000, that's pennies compared to what you can scale up and make. And so, anyway, that's some of the co-host stuff. Some things, I don't know, Nicole, if you considered like security measures and things like that for Airbnb, but that's one of the things when you go to start up Airbnb, you want to consider. So some of the things, like, I highly encourage people who are doing Airbnbs, when you're looking for a place, see that there's one that'll allow you to at least add a Ring camera to your door, somewhere around your door, because then you can monitor at least the ins and outs. And then there's another service that I really like. I kind of learned about it. It's called the August lock. So I don't know if you guys have heard of the August lock, but it's kind of like what they're going to in hotel rooms, where you can unlock the door from your phone. And so your guests, they'll get a code, and it's just for the days that they're there. And when they get to the door, they just unlock the door and go in. And it'll let you know, as the co-host or the host, that, hey, someone has went in. So you have timestamp when people go in and out. And then you all know about like Nest thermostats and things like that, because you don't want a guest to go in there, put it on 68 and leave it, even when they're gone. You can kind of keep your own expenses down when you manage, the thermostat and things like that. So that's just some of the things to consider when you're starting up, your startup costs. You wanna build in some security and some things like that to really help yourself, in the end. Let's see. So we talked about the kind of the cost, the ways of Airbnb. The next thing I had on our agenda was kind of listing your property. And Nicole, what's your experience when you were listing your property and some of the things you learned?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I would have rather paid somebody to do my listing, because it's very tedious. And I just learned yesterday that I had an error on my listing. I hadn't run into this problem before, because right now I have the 1-bedroom den. And so, I haven't had either it was a couple or a single person. I've had a couple that had a young child, but the young child slept in the bed with the parents. So I never had an issue with this scenario, but okay, so when you go through there, they have you checking all kind of stuff. So the one that I had the error, the part of it had the error was the sleeping, right? So they'll say, okay, how many people does it sleep, right? But then they'll say how many beds are bedding. And in my mind, I don't know why I thought when it said bed, it was saying how many people does it sleep. Or maybe when I checked it calculated whatever it calculated. So the guys, it was 3 people. So I'm thinking a couple and a person, or whatever the case may be, because I do have sofa checked as a place of sleeping, but it was 3 dudes. So on my listing, it said 3 beds. I don't know how it said 3 beds. And so when he texted me and he was like, hi, I was just trying to figure out, is it a sleeper sofa or whatever? I was like, no. And he goes, well, on your listing, it says 3 beds. And I was like, let me check and see. So I'm going to, and I think my heart dropped when I saw it said 3 beds. And I was just like, okay. So I literally had to go and get a cot / hammock / whatever that looks like, take it to them and set it up and everything in the den. And I made the correction to the listing immediately. But once again, it's just stuff like that. So I don't know how I've been getting away with it for these months. I guess I never had that scenario where there was 3 people who want to sleep separately. And then, I mean, so it's small stuff like that. And
that's it.
yeah, so I literally would have I should have had someone do the listing.
Yeah. Well, you said a good thing. Even if you do the listing, just throw it to people like you trust and let them read through it and give you some feedback and things like that. Because maybe that's something that they could catch. So, but yeah, that's an unusual situation. I always encourage hosts to put a like either a blow up mattress or one of them fold up cots in the case something like that does happen, right? And you can put that right in the text, but definitely have somebody proof it. You proof it a couple times on the preview before you list, because you want to read it like a guest, potential guest coming to list. And so some of the other things that I have when you go to list it, of course, you want to make sure your pricing is right before you even list. One thing not a lot of people know, or maybe it's becoming a little more widespread, but the newest listings, they get the most highlight by Airbnb. So when someone's looking in your city, if your listing is brand new, it's going to be on the top of the list, like in the list of search results, depending on if they filter or not. But newer listings, they get highlighted a lot more. So what you'll see is a lot of like new people to Airbnb. They'll be like, oh man, this is great. My listing, I'm already fully booked. I just listed, which is good, but it's kind of it's almost like a psyche trick, right? It's almost like when you go gambling and you win at first, they know they got you locked in, and you keep on, giving them more money when you're gambling. So Airbnb has these algorithms that you have to kind of understand so that your listing, no matter if it's old or new, it'll always pop up in these search results. And so some of the things that I'll share with you, if you go to list and your listing is not tight, like it doesn't look good, because I hear some hosts, they're like, oh, I'm gonna go ahead and list because I want to start bringing in money, but I haven't had my professional photos done. And I say that's a no-no, because Airbnb does this algorithm. It's called the conversion percent, and that is how many times is your listing viewed versus booked. And so if it's viewed, and let's say you have the listing is brand new, so everyone's seeing it, but the pictures are trash because you decided, oh, I'm gonna wait and I'm gonna post it before I get my professional pictures, then those people gonna see the pictures and then they're not gonna book, and that low conversion percent is gonna move your thing down in the viewing area. So do not prematurely list. Make sure everything is right before you list. I think that is one of the most important things that hosts need to understand, that these algorithms, they will hurt you if you're not ready. So you definitely want to get professional photos. If you're in the Houston area, there's a guy, he's very well known in the Airbnb circles, Daniel Torres. He's I don't know how he does it, but he is always available, and he charges $90 and you get like 36 very professional pictures. But make sure you get professional pictures. Make sure if you want your listing to stick out, that you have to do something different than the norm. So themes, we talk about like some kind of theme. So you can go with, a Western theme, or, a movie house theme. I got a new listing just this week. This lady, she turned her living room, she did blackout curtains. She turned her living room into a movie theater with the seating chairs. And then she had a cabinet with candies that you would see at the movie theater, and a popcorn machine. And this is stuff like, she didn't spend nothing more than you would spend furnishing, but it definitely added to her listing, right? Because people see that and they're like, oh, we're we're getting away. We're going to have a movie theater, you know. So just thinking of ways to make your listing stand out, colors, you know, pop-up colors and theme rooms and things of that nature. And you want to do this all in the process of while you're going to list. And then another thing is you want to make sure you have all the amenities. Count your Wi-Fi and those utilities. Nobody wants to go anywhere without Wi-Fi nowadays. So Wi-Fi, if you do coffee, make sure you do tea, because there's a lot of people who don't drink coffee, but they want their tea, and people forget, you know, that tea is just as important as coffee. Make sure people like to have availability of laundry and free parking, so you want all that to be in your listing if it's available. If it's not available, put it clearly too, because you don't want them to be surprised when they book with you. Also, like in your kitchen, I suggest for your pictures that you actually highlight your cookware. So I like to put my cookware right on the stove when I'm taking the pictures, so that when people see your kitchen pictures on your listing, they see, oh, this kitchen is well equipped. She got pots and pans and, you know, knives and things like that. And I generally do like a little spice rack or oils rack, you know, so they see I can go to this place and I can cook a real meal. You know, I don't have to go to the store and get, you know, salt, pepper, whatever, condiments. And so, you know, that's some of the things you want to make sure pop out in your pictures, because you'd be surprised people who book based on the pictures, you know. So you definitely want to make sure that. So that's in general, like what you want to make sure when you're going to list your property. You want it to just be as best you can. Have it reviewed, like I said, before you go ahead and list. And then once you list, you got to be ready. Somebody might book that day, so you got to be ready. You got to have your cleaners in place. You got to have your consumables there. You know, you don't want somebody to book and then you say, oh man, I don't have no toilet paper over there, or oh man, you know, I didn't turn on the Wi-Fi, you know. So make sure it is ready. When you hit that list button, it is ready. So anything you want to add to that, Nicole?
No, the only thing I would add is that so I don't know how many people in here actually have been like doing research on Airbnbs or watch videos, but I like anytime I go into, like, I'm part of a Airbnb Houston Facebook group, and every time you go in there, there's a couple of different people who are advertising for cleaners, right? And based on what I have been able to, I'm blessed because my husband does my cleaning. He's part of a corporate hospitality company as well. But he's in management, but he started from being able to do resets and all that kind of stuff. So that's his thing. So not sure how that's going as we scale, because it's not going to be possible because he does work corporate America full time. But what I also have seen in pictures is that these cleaners don't really be cleaning, right? So you have to make sure that if you are going to be outsourcing it, vet your people. And some people want to be where they want to be hands off, but you know, you still want whoever vendors you're using to know that you are hands off and you are going to be there and you're going to be looking at their work. You're not just going to be paying them and then your guest is getting there before you can put an eye on it. And one of the things that my husband has always, even though, you know, he's my co-host as well, but he's accustomed to doing this at his job, which is videotaping everything before they leave out. Sending the videotape to you. So that's definitely, if we ever, what we're going to have to be, I'm claiming that. So that's another important thing, because it will be horrible, because before I was a host, I Airbnb when I travel, and I've seen the best and I have seen the worst. And so I was like, I can't stay here. So when I was in Atlanta for Invest Fest, I was like, I can't stay here. I got to find me somewhere else to live for this night. So I think the cleaner part is like, the amenities are awesome. I think that's the easy thing, buying stuff and placing them. But I know as a consumer, as a person, that a guest, that's my first thing. I love
Yeah.
the theme. I would love that, but if it's dirty, if the linens are not clean, if the sheets
Yeah.
are not, it's so definitely vet your vendors.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I have 3 different cleaners that I use and rotate, and I will say, like a lot of hosts, they'll call me and say, "Hey, I want you to co-host for me, but I have a cleaner that I like," and I'll say, "Okay, I'll work with your cleaner." But even when I work with their cleaner, I will introduce them. I have I'm gonna share my screen. Let me see if it'll do it. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so I have this cleaning checklist that I will go over with any cleaner, my cleaner, their cleaner. And like you said, it's important when they first get there, they want to look for any damages and they want to take pictures because with Airbnb, with a lot of the short-term rental places, they will reimburse you if your guests break something or steal something. And so the biggest thing on the before and the after cleaning is pictures, videos, whatever you want to do. You want to do it so that you have documentation because Airbnb, they won't pay you if you don't got no documentation. I'm gonna tell you, it's just like a court of law. If it ain't on paper, you can't prove it, it ain't happening. So this checklist I kind of go through, and like you said, it forces them to make sure they look at everything. And I can share this with y'all if you want, but I go over everything. One big thing is I don't want to see no hair nowhere, because that means you didn't clean at all. And that's the worst turnoff to everybody. Um, you make sure you got to restock consumables. So one of the things I do in all my rentals, I have a locked supply closet. So you don't want to have to go there every time to bring toilet paper and soap and things like that. So put your stocked items in a locked supply closet so your cleaners can just go in there, do their flip cleaning and come back. Make sure that they're sweeping and mopping, vacuuming. There's no, oh, I'm gonna sweep and mop every other time. No, you do it every time, right? Take out the trash. Don't leave the trash, sitting outside the door. Make sure the temperature setting is the right setting so you're not wasting money. And then, like I said at the end, make sure you're taking your pictures so the jobs are completed. So, that's just one thing. Uh, Anybody getting into it, you want to have, if you don't know these people from Adam, everybody cleans differently, right? So if you want them to clean what would check your box and check your list of how you want to be represented to guests, put it in writing, send it to them. Make sure you get your pictures, and then that's also how you build up confidence in who you use. So one of my cleaners, I call her the OCD lady because she gets in there and her, she'll stay all night somewhere to just make sure it is right. And so you definitely hit on a big note there is just make sure you have very, very good cleaners. One thing about the locked supply closet, guests, you'll be surprised. If you give them 8 towels and it's one person, just because there's 8 towels, they're going to use all 8. And you're going to be like, what the heck? So you need to, if you have abundance of stuff, that's where the lock supply closet comes in because, if it's one person booking and it's 2 nights, give them 2 towels, just people seem to take advantage of whatever you put out there. If you put out dishwasher detergent and you put the whole box, they may take the whole box. So just leave a couple of the pods so for them to use, leave a couple of trash bags for them to use. So just don't leave out everything because we want to believe that people are good natured, but all it takes is one bad and they raid all your stuff and then you got to replace all of your consumables. So that's where the lock closet comes in. And so I want to ask you, Nicole, what's been your experience for linens and turning linens for your cleaning? Do you have any tips or tricks that you've done with linens?
So one of the things I made sure is that the unit had wash and dryers inside because I did not want it to be not necessarily have to be something that was done off of the location. So
Yeah.
you know how you had it where whoever's cleaning immediately is stripping the beds, put them in there. If the cleaning should take at least 2 hours, right? If they're cleaning properly.
Yeah.
So that gives you enough time in between them doing the cleaning to be able to wash the linen that's there and dry the linen that's there.
Yeah.
Now let's just pretend like, you know, someone checked out late or your cleaner's just running late for whatever reason. It's Houston. Then we have a separate complete set, like you say, in the box. So that you have. I don't see how anyone can do that. I was kind of looking at some of the videos where they were like, you know, you could take it and clean it. In my mind, I just no.
I'm with you. That's key for me to just have a complete set. And not only because of the, you know, the turns or the late turns, but let's say you have a guest and they totally ruin the sheets or the towels. You know, you don't want to have your cleaner have to go out and buy none. So at least a duplicate, at least one set is highly encouraged. You know,
absolutely
a duplicate of a full set of everything. And another thing, like I encourage hosts to do, to make it easy on your cleaning staff. Just like hotels do, I encourage people to do all white linen. And that's really so you can wash, you know, if it's one load, you can wash them all. You don't have to do colors versus whites. You can wash them all or have 2 loads of whites. But it definitely makes it easier on your cleaners. Your cleaners will thank you if you stick to one color. So it don't have to be white, but as long as the sheets, towels, everything is the same color, so that they don't have to worry about the various loads. Because if you're a cleaner and you have someone checking out at 11 and the next person checking in at 3, your objective is to get in and get out, you know, so you don't want to have to, I got 3 loads of different color clothes to wash, you know. So that's just a tip, you know, you don't have to do it, but that's definitely a tip that I suggest to people on the linens. And then for comforters, so you don't have to wash comforters every time, I suggest duvet covers. So that's the thin like sheet material. You put it on the comforter and then zip it up. And so that way your cleaner, she just unzips that duvet cover, puts it in the load with the sheets, and then you don't have to wash the comforter every time. You may wash it every other time or every once a month or something like that, but the duvet cover helps with that. And of course, mattress protectors. A lot of people keep the plastic on the mattress, but do something so no water can get to your mattress, because all it takes is one kid peeing in the bed, and then you're gonna be mad. You're gonna have to replace the mattress or something. So just some of the things that you just don't think about it until you start thinking, hey, I'm gonna have multiple people in here and I need to be ready for a quick flip, So that some of the things, and I can send, maybe Ashanti, I'll get with you on sending out some of my things, but there's a couple of hosts, when you're hosting Airbnbs, there's a couple of websites that offer really, really good benefit and discounts on things like linens. So it's Host GPO. That's one site that offers linens for short-term rental hosts. So I suggest people go to there. Costco, believe it or not, my own mother, she told me about some deals for Costco sheets and linens that I was like out of this world. So when they have a good sale, go to Costco. If you go to Google and just type in room in a box, when you're looking for your furnishings, if you want to save, you can buy what's already come pre-made and coordinated room in the box. You can just Google that and you'll see a whole bunch of different services that offer that. So I could go on and on, but just different things that I've picked up, from hosting. Now I will say, if you talk about guests and problem guests and people who giving you problems, the biggest thing is document. If they say they see something, have them take a picture. If you having like the Ring cameras, I've had experience where it's clear. I don't have no smoking at my properties. I don't have no pets. And I catch on the Ring camera, they got pets and they got cigarettes and vape machines and stuff. And so those help my case when I go to Airbnb and they pay out. So but definitely document as much as you can, so that you keep yourself good on the not having to pay a whole bunch of money behind somebody doing what they shouldn't be doing. So I'm a kind of end my spiel with a story, like a horror story, I will say. And I'll preface it with guests and screening guests and thinking guests gonna be good. There's really no foolproof way. And so I had a horror story. I had this girl, she rented my property for a weekend. There was no issue. She was the ideal guest. And so about a month or two later, the same guest wanted to rent my property, right? And this was a single family home. So she wanted to rent my property. And of course, she already rented. So I was like, oh, she's not going to be no problem. I don't have to worry about screening. Good. But she did say, she said, hey, I want to rent your property again, but I want to throw a little get together. And so I was like, oh, okay. I don't want no problem. Y'all can't be loud, whatever. So she said, okay. I rented to the girl. She ended up having a huge party. The police were called. The police told people to leave. People end up leaving, and I don't know to this day, but somebody came back to the property and they actually did a drive-by shooting at the property. And so like I said, I don't know. It hasn't been proven who it was. The only thing I can think is it was somebody who had to leave the premises and they were mad, or maybe there was something going on at the party that they, after the fact. And so the good thing about it, my property had bullet holes in it in the garage door and stuff. And the good thing about it, I had pictures and I sent it to Airbnb. I sent in estimates of everything that went down, the things that I had to repair and replace. And Airbnb, within 3 days, they paid me everything. So like I said, sometimes in this business, you just never know, because I would have never thought she was an ideal candidate. She had already rented. There was no reason I wouldn't rent to her again. And so it's, you have to, when you get in this business, you just can't be surprised at anything. That's kind of how I want to tell you. And just do your documentation. So anything else you want to share, Nicole?
No, I would just say that I know that we talk a lot about execution, period, with EYO, and that sometimes you have, paralysis. It's you watch so many videos, you look at so many things, and I just say that just do whatever you can to minimize your risk in it, because any business, any entrepreneurship idea, there's risks involved, right? But I think that if you are okay with, like Tish said, that the average of the door between 6 to 8, 60,000, depending on your size or whatever the case may be, that's average, right? And that fits into your risk factor of how much money you have to put up. And I will say, the only thing that we did not touch on is, on average, if you're looking at a 1-bedroom apartment or a 2-bedroom apartment, how much on average are you spending to furnish the apartment?
So I always tell people 5,000 to 7,000 with everything included, like starting from scratch, microwave, everything.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Other than that, just do it. I think that we have a strong system. I think that I don't know much of anything other than my own experiences, but I'm actually have another location at Apex that's going to be opening
Good.
tomorrow. I mean, this is Monday, Tuesday.
Good.
I'll get the keys Tuesday, so we got to put in the work, but
Yay.
it's doable. And so when you don't pay attention, people say, "Oh, it's so saturated in Houston. Don't do it. It's horrible in Houston. Airbnb sucks." Take it at face value.
Go down the bread aisle. Go down the bread aisle at the grocery store.